Hey everyone, welcome back to Unorthodox Cricket. Now there was another pretty decent game of cricket overnight last night between New Zealand and Pakistan. Unfortunately, as a New Zealand fan, we haven't managed to book our semi-final spot, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So the structure of today, basically we're going to take a quick recap of that New Zealand-Pakistan game. Secondly, we're going to take a look at a couple of tweets old mate Kevin Pietersen has been saying about Eoin Morgan and their recent game. Thirdly, we're going to take a look at Chris Gale, the Universe boss, and a couple of announcements he's made overnight. And then we're going to finish off with something a little bit different. Turns out Pakistan's World Cup is going very similarly to the '92 World Cup. So as we take a look at last night's game between New Zealand and Pakistan, this was a real opportunity for New Zealand to seal up that second semi-final position. And it was also a chance for Pakistan to get their nose back in the race and also push for a semi-final spot. Now New Zealand won the toss and elected to bat. There was a bit of rain around the night before and there was a delayed toss. Even though New Zealand knew this, Kane Williamson elected to bat and things did not start particularly well. Both Guptill and Munro fell early, as we've seen throughout this tournament, and then Ross Taylor got an absolute peach from young Shaheen Afridi and he was back in the hut as well. Now New Zealand were really struggling. Williamson and Neesham came together and I thought that they might rebuild the innings until Shadab Khan bowled an absolute peach to Williamson and sent him back. This brought the two New Zealand all-rounders of de Grandhomme and Neesham together, who, to be honest, I haven't had a lot of faith in. They have scored runs on the odd occasion, but I didn't expect them to stand up on the big occasions. And they both proved me wrong. They both batted well within themselves, put away their big strokes and really rebuilt the innings. Jimmy Neesham ended up on a great 97 not out and he had the support there from de Grandhomme who ended up on 64. Now the combination of these two gave New Zealand a semi-defendable target of 237 for 6 at the end of their 50 overs. Now the real story of this innings was young Shaheen Afridi, who bowled absolutely phenomenal at the top. He both swung the ball and put it in the right areas. He was economical and he picked up the big scalps of Munro, Ross Taylor and Latham early doors. Now in response, Pakistan came out really positively and were hitting the ball really cleanly, and then both Ferguson and Bolt took out the openers and I thought New Zealand might have half a show. But then a guy who's really not talked about enough, Babar Azam, just absolute class, and he finished off the game with 101 not out. I constantly see guys like Joe Root, Kane Williamson, Steve Smith absolutely raved about. But one guy who really doesn't get enough credit is Babar Azam. He is now the second fastest guy to get 3,000 ODI runs, and I think people need to start taking him more seriously and talking about him a lot more. Now, as great as Babar's innings was, he also had the support of Harris Sahale, who we saw the other night score runs, and those two came together and really New Zealand had not much chance in the end there, and New Zealand's best bowler was Kane Williamson, who picked up 1 for 38, who I'm still not convinced isn't still throwing the ball, but we'll leave that there. So that win for Pakistan means New Zealand are going to either have to beat England or Australia in their last two games or need results to go their other way to make the semi. For Pakistan, it gives them another hope. They have to go unbeaten for the rest of the tournament to push through, but with performances like that and guys like Babar, that's not off the table. Now after the England-Australia game the other day, the ever controversial Pietersen put out a few tweets about the England captain Eoin Morgan, and he basically said that the first ball that Morgan faced from Mitchell Starc, he backed away to square leg, and he basically said that he's not seen a captain show such weakness in a while. Now looking at the footage, Morgan did take a little backward step away, but for Pietersen to call him out and say that that's a captain showing a big weakness, and that they're going to struggle in the next few weeks. Now to me that's just Kevin Pietersen being a little bit of a dick how he is. He loves the attention on himself, so for me, him calling out Eoin Morgan for being weak is just a way of bringing the limelight back onto him now that he's retired and he's gone into commentary and there's not a lot of attention that he used to get. Now overnight we've had a bit of news from the Universe boss Chris Gale. He's basically come out and said that after the World Cup, which had planned to retire afterwards at the age of 39, he's basically said that he wants to play the ODI series against India and maybe another test match. Now, for me, I don't think you can take Chris Gayle too seriously on this one. Even Jason Holder's come out and said that was the first he'd heard of it. But as we've seen throughout this World Cup, Chris Gayle's 39, his body's barely holding together, and he struggles to get through 50 overs. So for him to come out and say that he might play a test match, I think he's just trolling a bit, and I think we all know that Chris Gayle does love to play with the fans a bit, but I can't see him going on to play any more ODIs following the World Cup, and definitely he's not going to get through a test match. So I think this is just another bit of fun from Chris Gayle. We know Chris Gayle. He loves to play around. He bowls with his shades on, wears his hat. But I'd be highly surprised if we saw him play another ODI following the World Cup, and definitely not a test match. But he might be being serious. Who knows? He is the kind of guy who just likes to try things, and he probably doesn't like being outside of the cricketing environment. So stay posted on this one, and we'll see what happens. Now, just finally, there's been a couple of uncanny coincidences between Pakistan's 1992 World Cup and the 2019 one. So as we can sort of see on the table here, all the results I've had so far have been identical to the year which they won the World Cup back in 92. So that begs the question, are they going to go on to win the 2019 World Cup as well? Now, I know that's a little bit far-fetched, but results have gone their way so far and things have lined up perfectly. So that's just a little bit of an interesting one. I know all us cricketers are all a bit weird with superstitions and things like that. So if you're a Pakistan fan, touch wood that this comes true, but we'll have to wait to see how it plays out. Now, that's all for today's video. As always, any feedback's appreciated. Any comments regarding future content or the delivery of this stuff would be greatly appreciated. But for now, go and enjoy the West Indies-India game. Personally, I think India's going to be too strong unless the likes of Chris Gayle can step up and have a real big one. But that's all for today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the cricket.